Call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Ingert.
Present.
Councilmember Forster.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. We have a quorum. Please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations and awards this evening or personal appearances, so we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir. I'd ask Mr. Gruss to make a staff report for Development Services.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Council, within your packet was a written report. A couple of things I did want to highlight. For the first month of the fiscal year in November, we did start the year out with 30 residential permits, so 6 detached single-family and 24 attached single-family. We're sitting right now for the calendar year at a total of 176 permits, so starting the fiscal year and ending the calendar year in a good way. A couple projects I wanted to bring to the council's attention as they make their way through the review process. Our department did receive an application earlier in the past 2 weeks for kind of a slew of applications, one for the voluntary annexation, rezoning, and preliminary plat of approximately 89 acres located at the northeast corner of Gore and Kurzweil. Right now zoned agricultural within the county, the applicant has requested to rezone that to RE rural estate, which would then allow them to subdivide the property into 3-acre lots in addition to one 20-acre lot as part of that development. So right now we have a good neighbor meeting scheduled for the first week of January for that project, and then it's scheduled to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 16th. In addition to that, at the January 16th meeting, the commission will review a site development plan for the Parkside Clubhouse and Pool, which we received an application for here last week, as well as a proposed expansion to the Elite Fence and Deck over on the east side of town. So a couple good applications that got filed here, and that will conclude my staff report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gress. Any questions for Mr. Gress? All right, Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, Mr. Gruss. I would ask Chief Wilson to make a staff report for the police department, and Mr. Murdoch's going to have a portion of this as well.
On your way in this evening, you may have seen a new marked unit out front. We've changed the color scheme and the color of the vehicle, the graphic scheme as well. It's been over 20 years since we've changed the color of our vehicle, probably more than 20 years. It's taken a few folks by surprise. Even while I was sitting in the parking lot this evening, a young man pulled through with a motorcycle and didn't know it was a police car till he got right up on the bumper of the car. And then he starts talking, oh my gosh, it's a police car, and slowed down. So that's a good sign. This vehicle had been on order for quite some time. It's been over at the outfitters. I don't know if you all know this or not, but there are far and few outfitters in the metro area. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better. COVID has had a long-lasting effect and continues to have an impact on parts and shipping as well as vehicle manufacturing. So, but we've gotten great feedback from the community so far, and we look forward to getting a few more vehicles in. That's all I have, sir.
And from the standpoint of the latter part of the chief's presentation, for the council members who don't know Mr. Murdoch, one of his assignments is to handle our fleet and our fleet maintenance, and so I'm going to ask him to comment on some of the chief's comments here.
Yeah, so it's a joy to work on the fleet. As Chief mentioned, though, we are still experiencing significant delays in ordering processes and getting orders accepted by manufacturers. And one of the things that has caused is when we do finally get vehicles in, so in this case, we did get 4 of the police interceptors in, to try to get them over to an upfit technician has been a challenge. In fact, the car that you see out there today actually went for its upfit, meaning getting all of its emergency equipment installed in late June. And we did not get it back until literally 2 weeks ago. There were numerous delays for numerous reasons, and so there were some measurement delays. There were some holds on equipment like cargo boxes, cages, and things like that. that we were under the impression had already been ordered and were ready to go the moment the car got there. But a long story short is that we are working with that particular upfit provider right now to ensure that we do not encounter delays like that again. I spoke with Chief actually when we got this last car in, and we did agree between the two of us to send our next car to this same place, but with the understanding that they give us in writing a turnaround time that's a lot better, obviously, and they did give us a turnaround time of 2.5 weeks. So we'll be following up later this week to make sure that that second vehicle is on track to be delivered before Christmas, so that those graphics can go on to that vehicle as well, and we can continue to get this fleet switched out as quickly as possible. One other note on this, these delays have impacted just our white fleet as well, so our city fleet. So I do want to make sure that the council is aware that we primarily have Ford vehicles throughout the city, but we will transition a couple of administration vehicles to GMC Terrains here due to Ford not being willing to pick up orders on the Escapes. They literally are just not accepting them because they have so many backlogged. And so working with Enterprise, they have been able to locate Terrains that are actually going to be a little bit less expensive, but actually provide a little more room even than the Escapes, which is something that I think many of our employees want, and many people who drive those vehicles would prefer anyway. So we're going to give those a kind of a test here. So we're going to get 2 of those coming up here in early 2024 to switch out a couple of the Escapes as well. Happy to answer any questions about the fleet if you have them.
Thank you, Ryan. Any questions for Mr. Murdock? Yes, Mr. Townsend.
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
the
Mayor.
chief.
These vehicle replacements, they're still through the enterprise program?
That is correct.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else? Sonia?
Just a quick question. You mentioned delivered. Does that just mean ready, or like they're actually going to deliver them this time?
You mean deliver the police car? We can actually, this time we will be able to do, and we could have done it this last time, but we wanted to get this one back as quickly as possible. Enterprise actually will go get the cars and bring them back for us as a part of our contract agreement, but they do have a lead time that we have to schedule to get them to actually get the cars back. And in this particular case, we wanted this one back as soon as possible. And so we'll schedule with Enterprise hopefully to get it probably on the 21st or the 22nd of December. And then they'll bring it back for us.
So do we just get the graphic designs when we get them? Is that all we're doing here? It's
That's-
already got everything else in it?
Yeah, there's a couple of nuanced things that we have to do with the vehicles, but primarily speaking, yeah, we get it, and then Chief contacts his graphic provider who comes and does that actually in our Sally port.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm still doing that. That's good. All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you all. Last item, just want to remind the council, we do have a work session next Monday night, December 18th. The work session will be a joint work session with the Park Board. We are preparing a very comprehensive report to the council and the Park Board on our trail system. This harkens back to our budget discussions.
Okay.
That concludes staff reports this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? All right. Moving right along then, we'll move into the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda has 3 items on it. We have the minutes, and we have a couple of other items on there as well. I would entertain a motion to dispose of all or portions of it.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad,
I move that we approve the City Council meeting minutes from November 27th, 2023. Item B, the 2022 Street Preservation Project Acceptance and Final Payment. Item C, Mayberry Court Project Acceptance and Final Payment. And item D, Storm Sewer Project Acceptance and Final Payment.
thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as listed on the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, we have to have the roll call. Sorry about that.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
The motion carries. We now move on to unfinished business. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3855 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3855 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the Saddlebrook First Final Plat, a subdivision of land located in the southeast quarter of Section 20, Township 46 North, Range 32 West, Raymore, Cass County, Missouri.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3855, Saddlebrook, first and final plat.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3855. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3866 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3866 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the legal description for the Raymore Commerce Center South Planned Unit Development application.
If there's no further questions on this one, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of it.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3866, the correction to the legal description for Raymore Commerce Center South Planned Unit Development.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3866. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. I will now move on to new business. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3869 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3869 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, calling for and establishing the date of the general municipal election to be held on April 2nd, 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The City Charter, Section 9.1, calls for the regular municipal election to be held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in April. The municipal election for 2024 will be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, for a 2-year term for council members in Ward 1, currently held by Reginald Townsend, a 2-year term for council member in Ward 2, currently held by Tabitha Forster, a 2-year term for council member in Ward 3, currently held by Jay Holman, and a 2-year term for council member in Ward 4, currently held by Sonia Abdelgawad. Candidate filing begins Tuesday, November 19, 2023, and ends Tuesday, January 16, 2024. Thank you.
Actually, you said November, but it's December 19th. It says that. That's okay. All right. Anybody have any questions of staff on this particular item? It's plain and simple there, and so I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3869, calling for the April 2nd, 2024 municipal election.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3869. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8 yes. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3871 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3871 by title only, an ordinance authorizing and directing submission to the voters of the City of Raymore, Missouri at the election of April 2nd, 2024, the proposal to authorize the imposition of a use tax for general revenue purposes at a rate equal to the current sales tax rate of 2.5% in the City of Raymore, Missouri.
Thank you, ma'am. I know there's a staff report. We talked about this at our work session last Monday evening, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Fearborn for more information on this.
Thank you, sir. Having written it, I would ask Mr. Zur to make a staff report on this item.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Mayor, members of the council, before you have Bill 3871, which is the ordinance proposing to put the Proposition P back on the upcoming ballot for April 2nd, 2024. It would put it on at the current rate for your sales tax within the community and would allow for taxation of the tax to be collected on online sales for individual vendors from outside the city. This is pursuant to Section 144.757 of the revised statutes of Missouri. It has been on the ballot before in the past. The proposal for this use tax would be to continue to have it split up amongst the general sales tax, transportation sales tax, capital improvement tax, and the park and recreation stormwater sales tax in the same equal 2.5%. Utilization of the funds would go towards personnel, including police, parks and recreation, and public works personnel principally. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but that would conclude my staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Zerg. Do you have anything else to add to that, Jim?
That includes staff reports.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Zur on this topic? Okay. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3871, placing an online use tax on the April 2nd, 2024 election ballot.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3871. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3859 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3859 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bright Construction for the Dean Avenue Meter Replacement Project, City Project Number 23-899-501, in the amount of $78,330, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you, ma'am. This was also discussed at the work session last Monday night, but Mr. Fearborn, do you have anything?
Thanks, sir. I would ask Mr. Kraft to make a staff report on this
Okay.
item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As the mayor pointed out, staff did a recent presentation to council regarding the need for the modifications of the Dean Avenue meter. We do recommend award construction to Bright Construction, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3859, award of contract for the Dean Avenue meter replacement.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3859. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3860 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3860 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 2024 capital budget to provide additional funding for the Dean Avenue meter replacement project.
Mr. Fearborn, I know it's self-explanatory, but did you have a report?
We'll let Mr. Kraft jump in here, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This project arose after adoption of this year's budget. Staff is requesting funds to fund the project.
That'd be good, since we passed the last one. If there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3860, a budget amendment for the Dean Avenue meter replacement.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3860. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Oh, got to do the roll call.
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Tom, I'm going to make you start putting your hand up. I can see you on the screen. But yeah, see, I can see that. All right. Let's now have the next three items, in case you hadn't seen on your agenda, are all emergency reads. So we will be reading each of those in their entirety if they get past the first reading. But anyway, just wanted to let you know about that. We'll be moving on with those. But could I please have the first reading of Bill 3867 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3867 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Wilson & Company for the Access Modifications Dean Avenue and 58 Highway Project, City Project Number 23-437-301, in the amount of $346,720, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency.
Could I have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Kraft to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. First, Mr. Mayor, thank you for accommodating with the emergency read. We've been working almost 2 years trying to get a hold of someone with Walmart, and they are now very interested in this project. In fact, they have requested a kickoff meeting this month with their engineer. So we're excited to bring this project forward. It's the first implementation of the Westgate traffic study that we presented to council several years ago. It's going to include access modification on Dean Avenue, a traffic signal. It's going to be placed about the midpoint of the Walmart, where the main access into the gallery is that goes all the way into Lowe's. Also, the modification to the 58 Kentucky intersection is also included in this contract. We are recommending award with Wilson and Company. Wilson Company designed our Ward Road project. They've designed the Dean Avenue, Hubach Hills traffic signal, and Michael Kramer from Wilson and Company is in the audience should council have any questions, but we do recommend award of this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Krass? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. So this is a pinch point for us in traffic, and something that you and the entire staff have known about for a while, as you stated in your opening statement, been trying to get Walmart involved. Would you characterize this as, say, phase one of, we know we're going to have more improvements through that short corridor there with impending economic development, the growth of traffic, and so forth. So am I correct in assuming we will probably have to do more projects along this line for traffic improvements in that area?
I think some improvements to the east, but then Belton is also looking at some access management things as well between Dean Avenue and Bell Ray and the outer. So it's kind of a coordinated effort. But yes, I would consider this a first phase.
Corridor project of
Yes.
sorts. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a quick question, Mr. As far as the corridor goes on Dean Avenue, I know that we've had some discussions about when the Raymore Commerce Center opens up full bore. Will that also be considered the entirety of Dean Avenue, like the roundabout on Lucy Webb, as part of this maybe down the road, or how we would okay, my concern is you've got 2 lanes coming into a roundabout at Lucy Webb, coming from the Commerce Center, and everyone coming in, going to have lunch and all that. Has that been in any works or anything?
The roundabout as designed can accommodate the traffic for the growth. The design of it accommodated the growth of what we call the pork chop, as well as development of the Good Ranch in the southern portion there.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know that Ms. Abdelgawad and I last Wednesday heard from the city manager at our Rotary meeting, and he indicated that they're looking at an alteration to both the outer road lights that sit on both sides of the 58 intersection. In other words, the Peculiar Avenue will likely be closed with a redirection of traffic for Peculiar Drive up to the light there on the west side of McDonald's. And then he said something, he didn't describe it in any way, shape, or form, but the one there by Burger King as well, they're trying to figure out a way to eliminate that light. So there's a lot of congestion work from both cities that's going on in that area that hopefully will help with the free flow of traffic and traffic safety as well. But just want to let you know we heard that last Wednesday. Anybody else have anything for staff? Any other questions?
Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
It's
Townsend.
more of a comment for staff. I appreciate the diligence on this particular piece, whatever the phases that we're at in it. Obviously, the community has some concerns about it, but you all were diligent and continue to reach out to Walmart and see if there's a way we can fit this into their schedule. I'm glad to see it moving forward.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3867.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3867, award of contract for access modifications to Dean Avenue and 58 Highway.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3867. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited to see this project coming forward. I think maybe the last 2 budgets I tried to beg staff to move this project up, and we wanted to do it right, wanted to get it all worked out together so the whole thing would be done at one time. And so this is going to really make safety improved on both Dean and 58. So I'm very excited to vote yes on this.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 8-0, and as this is an emergency read, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3867 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3867 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Wilson and Company for the access modifications Dean Avenue and 58 Highway project, City Project Number 23-437-301, in the amount of $346,720, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency. Whereas the access modifications Dean Avenue and 58 Highway project was included in the FY 2023 budget, and whereas the staff publicly advertised the access modifications Dean Avenue and 58 Highway, and whereas staff reviewed the proposals submitted and found that the proposal from Wilson and Company was the best of the proposals submitted. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the city manager is directed to enter into a contract in the amount of $346,720 with Wilson and Company for the access modifications Dean Avenue and 58 Highway project attached as Exhibit A. Section 2, the city manager is authorized to approve change orders for this project within established budget constraints. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. In order to assure timely completion of this project, the mayor hereby authorizes the passage of this ordinance as an emergency bill. Duly read the first time this 11th day of December 2023. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted this 11th day of December 2023 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. And if there are no further questions of staff, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdel-Gawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3867, award of contract for access modifications for Dean Avenue and 58 Highway.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3867. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Thank you all. Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3868 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3868 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Raymore and the Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association, Incorporated, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It is snow season, so we are requesting that this be read as an emergency read. Chateau Place Homes Association has approached the city with the possibility of assisting with snow removal for their private cul-de-sac. We have reviewed our workloads and have determined that we can accommodate this request without detrimentally impacting our level of service in that area, so we do recommend approval of this memorandum of understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Krass. Any questions of Mr. Krass? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3868.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdel-Gawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3868, Chateau Place Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3868. Any further discussion? Ms. Abdel-Gawad.
Just a quick comment for council to know. It's been a few months ago, some of the members of the Homeowners Association out in Chateau Place met with Mr. Ingert and I to talk about some of their concerns with having their own little private street out there. And so I'm glad to see that they've worked with the city and figured out a way to begin to solve some of the problems that they're seeing.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Hearing nothing further, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Could I please have the second, as this is an emergency reading, could I please have the second reading of Bill 3868 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3868 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Raymore and the Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association Incorporated, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency. Whereas Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association Incorporated desires assistance with snow removal of their private streets, and whereas Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association Incorporated has requested that the city perform this service on a contractual basis, and whereas it has been determined by city staff that the city can perform routine snow removal activities without causing an undue burden or detracting from the ability of the city to pre-treat city streets, and whereas the city has determined the costs that would be associated with these activities, and Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association Incorporated has agreed to pay the city the amount of $40.12 per snow removal event. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the mayor is hereby directed and authorized to enter into the memorandum of understanding with the Chateau Place of Raymore Homeowners Association Incorporated. Section 2, the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized to execute the memorandum of understanding attached hereto as Exhibit A for and on behalf of the City Council. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. In order to assure timely implementation of the memorandum of understanding, the mayor hereby authorizes the passage of this ordinance as an emergency bill. Duly read the first time this 11th day of December 2023. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted the 11th day of December 2023 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. Unless there's additional questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdel-Gawad?
I move that we approve Bill 3868, Chateau Place Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3868. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3870 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3870 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with FTC Equipment LLC for the Owen Good pump replacement in the amount of $300,525.09, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. At a recent work session, staff presented the recommendation to direct purchase the replacement pumps for the Owen Good lift station through our maintenance provider, FTC Equipment. Due to the long lead time, it's almost 14 weeks, we are requesting an emergency read so we get in line and get these ordered as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Roger that. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Krass? If there are no further questions of staff, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3870.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve Bill 3870, award of contract for the Owen Good pump replacement.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3870. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. And as this is need for an emergency reading on this particular item. Could I please have the second reading of Bill 3870 in its entirety?
The second reading of Bill 3870 in its entirety, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with FTC Equipment LLC for the Owen Good pump replacement in the amount of $300,525.09, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints, and authorizing the mayor to declare this as an emergency. Whereas the Owen Good pump replacement project was included in the FY 2023 budget, and whereas the Sulzer pumps have been determined to be the best pumps for this application, and whereas, due to delivery lead times, staff is recommending a direct purchase through our contractor, FTC Equipment LLC. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Raymore, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the city manager is directed to enter into a contract in the amount of $300,525.09 with FTC Equipment LLC for the Owen Good pump replacement project, attaches Exhibit A. Section 2, the city manager is authorized to approve change orders for this project within established budget constraints. Section 3, effective date. The effective date of approval of this ordinance shall be coincidental with the mayor's signature and attestation by the city clerk. Section 4, severability. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is for any reason held invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision, and such holding shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions thereof. Section 5, emergency reading. In order to assure timely completion of this project, the mayor hereby authorizes the passage of this ordinance as an emergency bill. Duly read the first time this 11th day of December 2023. Be it remembered that the above ordinance was approved and adopted the 11th day of December 2023 by the following vote.
Thank you, ma'am. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of the second reading of Bill 3870.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3870, award of contract for the Owen Good pump replacement.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the second reading of Bill 3870. Any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you for your work on those emergency reads. I appreciate that, Erica. That's a lot of reading there. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3872 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3872 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Trezolo Communications Group for public relations and communications services related to the city's landfill opposition efforts.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Ms. Harmer to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Being able to have Trezolo's support was such an incredible asset during the last legislative session. Their assistance with messaging, press releases, ongoing media relations was vital to getting important news and calls to action out to our residents and stakeholders. With such an important task we have once again coming up at the Capitol with our landfill opposition, staff does recommend approval of a contract with Trezolo Communications Group for our public relations.
Thank you. Is there any questions of Ms. Harmer? Thank you. Appreciate it. If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Abdelgawad.
I move that we approve Bill 3872, award of contract for Trezolo Communications Group.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3872. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
yes,
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
Thank you all. Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. And the last item on the agenda is a resolution. Could I please have a reading of Resolution 2352 by title only?
The reading of Resolution 2352 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, expressing opposition to any proposed future solid waste or demolition material landfill or any solid waste or demolition material transfer station being located on the city's shared northern border with the City of Kansas City, Missouri, and in support of Senate Bill 739, Senate Bill 769, and House Bill 1751.
And is there a staff report?
Thank you, Your Honor. On this 504th day of our fight against the landfill, we are asking for the council to pass this resolution, somewhat similar to the resolution that we passed last year as we went into the legislative session. We will be using this as a model and sending our resolution to all of the other entities that also passed resolutions, now that we have the new Senate bill number and the House bill number associated with this year's battle on this. We'll send it to them, ask them to pass new resolutions as well. We intend to bundle all of those into, if you will, a book, and have those sent to all of the legislators so they can see the number of entities that are involved in all of this and have a stake in all of this and have an interest in all this. Staff does recommend approval. That
Thank you, sir.
concludes staff reports.
Any questions of Mr. Townsend, or Mr. Townsend? Mr. Townsend, any questions on it? Any questions of Mr. Fearborn? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Not a question, a request, sir. Last year, when this similar resolution came up, I was insistent on Ward 3 making the motion and seconding. If you would, you and Mayor Pro Tem would be so kind.
Absolutely, sir. Any problems, Mr. Mathola? Okay. All right. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Your Honor,
Mr. Holman.
I move at this time that we approve resolution in opposition to the landfill in Southeast Kansas City, Resolution 23-52.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Motion's been made and seconded to approve Resolution 2352. Any further discussion? I will say that I believe we have honed our skills as it relates to the legislative effort at Jefferson City. I anticipate another long session, but I'm hoping that the outcome will be different this time. We've been given some reassurances that they're going to try to expedite these items on the agenda this year, given the notoriety of the issue and how important it is to this area of Missouri that this landfill at least be pushed outside of a 1-mile border. And so I'm hoping that this year we'll know a little sooner of our efforts and how things are moving forward. So wish us luck in our endeavors, and if we have a motion and a second, could I please have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdel-Gawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
And a unanimous vote on this is very important, so thank you. That concludes our new business. We'll now move on to public comments. If anyone from the public would like to address the council this evening, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. You got anybody in the room with you there, Tom? Nobody wants to speak?
So I'm by myself. Mama's
All
in the
right,
other room.
okay. Thank you, sir. Hearing none, we'll close the public comment section, and we'll start with the mayor-council communication. I'll start with you tonight, Tom.
Just one quick comment. I'd like to thank our hardworking team with Development Services for all their efforts they put into. I was impressed that we are ending the year on a good note, and it shows their dedication, their hard work, as well as the city itself, that people and companies are still willing to invest in a good, hard, solid community like Raymore, Missouri.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Forster, let's go to you tonight.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment and say kudos to the Parks Department for doing a phenomenal job at the mayor's tree lighting. Even with the rain, it seemed like a really good crowd, and everybody had a great time that I've talked to, and to encourage our residents to go out and check out the tree trail. It's always a lot of fun. The kids are always great. And then also just excited that we are getting back at it, and we're able to announce to everyone the bills to start getting the fight, and know that we're still there and kicking butt.
Yep, there you go. Mr. Burke.
I think all I would have to say is hopefully we don't have to talk about a landfill at this point next year.
Amen. I hope you're right. Mr. Townsend?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know what you're doing tonight. You're throwing
I
off
know,
my
I'm
game.
throwing you off. Well, I've been calling on you all evening.
You
so-
have. On that note, I'll keep my comments short and echo the comments of my fellow council member, Councilmember Forrester. Looking forward to kicking butt on this effort with regard to the landfill and continuing the fight. Unfortunately, it's taken us 549 days to this point, and it's going to be a little longer fight. But as the mayor said, we've got some lessons learned and some new tactics and some new procedures that we're looking forward to carrying this message forward, that we do not want this in our backyard. We want to continue to grow our community and the southern Jackson County community as well, because it impacts both sides of the county line. So we're not just exclusively in this fight for Raymore, but for all around the community. So we ask everyone to continue to provide support in every way you can as we continue this effort. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. I want to echo the sentiments to the Park Department for the Mayor's Christmas tree. I got there a few minutes late due to some work conflicts, but the tree looks great. I've told as many people as I could to go check it out. I think we should be proud of that and what we do each year and with the program we put in place that night. Also, echo the sentiments of this fight for the landfill. This is my first official year in this role as far as in this fight, but I do believe we have the best staff probably of all the municipalities, that a complete staff between communications, our legal team, city management, everybody that goes into this fight. I think we have a great team to do it. 1 year of experience is better than no experience, so I anticipate some good things this year on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Abdelgawad?
Thank you, sir. Just to take a moment tonight to recognize our city staff and, of course, you for all of your work so far with the landfill and just continually thinking outside the box, looking at the issue from many different angles, and just keeping up with this fight and staying in front of it as much as we can, keeping us informed about what's going on, doing our best to keep the city informed about what's going on, and as much as we all hate it, just looking forward to seeing another job well done by our staff and our team. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Your Honor. I agree with everything everybody's saying tonight. And again, I agree with Mr. Burke. I want this to not be a subject of any kind a year from now. But let's look at some of the good stuff. Mr. Grassi had a great report tonight. There's a lot of dirt turned in Raymore. You see it everywhere. It's on 58 Highway. It's on my car. You see what's happening in Raymore. You see those little dots are growing. In fact, they're so thick on there, you've got to open the screen up to find out exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. So in spite of this developer trying to destroy our city and surrounding communities, we're not giving up. And our city is growing. People believe in us. And I'm excited what the future is for this city. And by what I see is going on, other people are too. So let's keep up the good work. Thanks. And let's go after them.
Amen. And Mr. Ullman?
You were always complaining about having to go after me. Now you've turned the tables on me. I concur with the comments of everyone else this evening. I would like to point out one thing. I would concur with Councilmember Baker's comments. I think we have the finest staff around, and I could highlight any one of the departments, but I think a spotlight needs to go on Public Works tonight. Bill 3867, which we passed an emergency read, that is a difficult project because that particular section, an area, requires cooperation with the city of Belton because they own part of the road on the north side. MoDOT, which still does maintenance on their portion of 58 Highway, not us. We've recognized the issues there for some time. And then when you add private entities such as Walmart into this mix, it's difficult to get 4 people or 4 groups to decide on what kind of pizza to have for lunch. Mm-hmm. This is a really good start to this area, improving the traffic flow and improving traffic safety, especially on that Dean Avenue corridor. We've had such success with economic development and people going there for retail purchases. You really see it at Christmas time, certainly. They're backed up into the parking lot pretty deep. I was there earlier tonight to pick up a prescription, and I went up around Wendy's just to avoid kind of the trouble we're having there. So I'm really excited to see this. I'm glad we're finally able to get some movement. This is great work, Mike, to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And great comments all. Thank you all for your wonderful comments, all spot on. In addition to those, I want to give you a little bit of an update about the I-49 project. So we learned about three and a half weeks ago that internally, MoDOT, and I think it's a small group, if not just one individual, had proposed to the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission a scale back or a scope change in the I-49 widening project. As you know, we were told last July of 2022, that this was a fully funded project by MoDOT in order to widen I-49 from the choke point just north of 155th Street all the way to North Cass Parkway. And it would be started in 2025. Not only was it pushed to 2028, but the very complex problem that we heard about was that they were going to shorten it. They were going to stop it at 58 Highway, which does nothing for the 58 highway congestion. In fact, it would likely burden it even more and cause the bridge to fail, not physically, but fail in its ability to have traffic traverse it. So it was a horrible idea. Team of people from Raymore, Belton, Grandview, as you saw, Mr. Harrison from Van Trust, Todd Crass from Belton Regional. We all went up and testified the other day to the commission that happened to have a meeting at the Kauffman Foundation Center down there off of 47th and Volker. And I think we made an impact. From the feedback that I've gotten, and oh, by the way, Congressman Alford was supposed to be there but couldn't be there. He was still in D.C., but who has joined in the effort in as much as he is penning a letter of support for our testimony last week and vehemently urging the commission to reconsider, and we thank him for that. But I think we've actually gotten their attention, and hopefully they will re-engage with us on that, and we'll see a positive outcome from that. Now, it may mean we have to wait a couple more years, but I do think the full scope of the project has a likelihood of being reconsidered. So keep your fingers crossed on that. If you know anybody within the Highway Commission, certainly urge you to reach out and talk to them about reconsideration of this project. We should know more when, Mr. Fearborn.
Congressman Alford's letter is going this evening to all the commissioners. I would also add, if you don't mind, sir.
Absolutely.
Casey Smartpoint and Chris Gutierrez, who have dedicated significant time, and the governor's grant for Dean Avenue. There are a lot of people who have put a lot of money into this, thinking that this was going to be 3 lanes down to North Cass Parkway. Chris Gutierrez actually publicly described it as ridiculous and has written all of the commissioners himself, urging that it be reinstated both in scope and time frame. The hope is that the urgency of the congressman's letter will prompt the director to bring it up as a formal item in front of the commission. Commission moves a little bit slow, but they have the luxury of, as the mayor indicated, don't keep it at 2028. Move it maybe 2026, and that gives you time to figure out a way to fund it all up and put it back the way it's supposed to be. We would hope, I've reached out to Mark today just to keep them informed, let them know about the letters, because all of that came up between the mayor and the congressman over the weekend. as well as Chris Gutierrez. So Ron Acapel down at Mark had actually indicated to me that they've already heard from Chris Gutierrez, and they've already heard from one of the highway commissioners, the Kansas City representative on the Highway Commission, who has interested himself in this particular issue. So we're hoping something would break free immediately after the holidays, and we would get a communication back, at least actually asking us for the information that they should be operating under. But I think we'll get through the holidays with this stew cooking, and it'll be ready for a good taste test right after January 1st.
Yeah, I don't want to really liken it to the landfill issue, but it was done quietly without the knowledge of the stakeholders, and I think that's the most upsetting part, at least from me, and I know some of the commissioners as well, felt that, we even got an apology from the director that maybe the communication was wasn't what it should have been when they scaled the project back to include us. So we'll,
our focus, once again,
Sure.
if I may, sir, our focus needs to be publicly. The commissioner said there was a breakdown in communication. There was a problem with communication. What we don't want to let them off the hook on is we're going to fix the problem with communication. Thanks for stopping by. We want the project reinstated.
Absolutely.
It's millions of dollars.
Yeah, and thank you for your all's indulgence to explain that, but it is another important project that we're trying to fix.
When you said Congressman Alford couldn't be there, I thought you were going to say because he couldn't get through the traffic at 58 and 49. Caught me off guard.
There you go. All right, well, that's all I have this evening. Do we have a reason to go into executive session, sir?
No, sir.
All right, and then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Abdelgawad.
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Yes, sir, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Barber?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Ingert?
Yes.
Councilmember Forster?
Yes.
Councilmember Holman?
Yes.
Councilmember Townsend?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.